Hi everybody. So this is video is about Chapter 2 in your text. Chapter 2 is really all about collaboration and the referral process. There's a lot of good information in there. I want to just point out a few pages that will be good resources for you. On pages 42 43, there's another sample IEP. Page 37, there's an RTI graphic, which I'm going to go over with in this video. And also on page 37, under Windows on the web, there are some RTI websites that I would encourage you to investigate. This particular graphic that you see in front of you comes from the RTI for Success website. So I just want to give a little bit of background about how we got to RTI. And by the way, RTI does stand for Response to Intervention. So what does that all mean? Well, we investigated with the IDEA laws. So in 2004, IDEA eliminated the requirement that students must exhibit a severe discrepancy between intellectual ability and achievement in order to be eligible for special services. So this created a greater flexibility for those who were screening students, and it led to RTI as part of an alternative method to diagnose learning disabilities, but also to intervene early enough to prevent children from being referred to special services unnecessarily. So for children to be considered for special services based on a learning disability, they first must be provided effective instruction and their progress measured, and those results of the progress must be reported to parents. So RTI can be part of the evaluation procedures for special services, but schools still have to complete a comprehensive assessment that rules out problems that might be caused for other reasons. For instance, poor vision, poor hearing, lack of appropriate instruction, limited English proficiency, behavioral disturbances, and so forth and so on. And we know that if students are not getting effective instruction and get passed through the grades, that can accumulate to a point where that student has a learning disability from the lack of instruction, and RTI really works to prevent that. So it's sort of weeding out the learning disabilities that are physical, emotional, behavioral based, and those that are simply from a lack of instruction or not enough instruction, I should say. So RTI then is proactive than reactive. So it's catch kids early and often rather than letting them get to a point where these deficits have accumulated to a point where it becomes very difficult to overcome them. So this in turn reduces the number of students who are referred to special ed because they're getting screened early. It also increases the number who are successful in the regular classroom, and it reduces the likelihood of students from different racial, cultural, or linguistic backgrounds of being incorrectly identified as having a disability. RTI sorts these out, okay? So I want to just kind of walk you through these four components of RTI. You have a reading assignment to read about this, and it's on this website, but this really gives a nice snapshot of it. So there are four components of RTI. The multi-layer prevention system, which are the tiers right here, okay? This is the multi-layer level prevention system. Universal screening, which is over here. Progress monitoring here. And then database decision making here, okay? I want to just kind of walk you through the tiers because this is really the meat, the heart of RTI. So there are three tiers of instruction. The Tier 1 is this lower level, and you see it's much larger than the others. This is because 80% of our students are successful at this level. This level is general education curriculum for all students. This is the regular classroom. This is instruction in the classroom. This is Tier 1. For those students who are having difficulty with certain skills in Tier 1, then we move to Tier 2, okay? So Tier 2 are interventions that are provided in addition to Tier 1 instruction. Typically, intervention provided 3 to 5 days per week for 30 minutes in groups of 3 to 5 students. It's teacher-directed instruction, so the classroom teacher delivers these interventions in the skill or skills students need. Progress is monitored monthly, okay? 15% will gain those skills and will not need any additional help. Okay, so this is intervening, and it may be that there's a skill that the student needs intervention in. Intervention takes place, the student gains the ability he or she needs and no longer needs this extra instruction. But it may be, a month or so down the road, there's another skill the student, sort of is struggling with, and again, that tier 2 intervention kicks in again. Okay, for those that are not succeeding at the tier 2 level, then we move to the tier 3. Tier 3 is this intensive one-to-one student to teacher every day 45 to 60 minute intervention instruction in addition to the regular classroom. So it's not a pull-out. It could be a pull-out, but not during this primary. It's in addition to. So this might be working with Title I. It might be working with a literacy specialist or a speech and language specialist or a math specialist. Sometimes it's also in addition to tier 2. So the teacher may be providing some interventions in the classroom as well, and then a specialist is providing more intervention at this tier 3 level. It doesn't remove the student from primary instruction. It's in addition to. Lost my place, sorry. So here, these are the 3 levels here, the primary, secondary, and tertiary. And this gives you a nice snapshot of what that looks like. And then we look at component 2, which is universal screening. So universal screening is for everybody. It's not just saying Johnny and Susie aren't doing well, let's screen them. Okay, so this is universal screening at certain points during the year where everybody is screened. They're brief and they're conducted with all students. Brief by, it may be a 2 to 3 minute assessment. It might be a 5-minute assessment. These are not long and drawn out standardized tests. They are quick screening of particular skills. Some of the interventions, some of the screening tools here come from Ames Web. You'll hear a lot about that, especially in the K through 8 classroom. And I'm going to put up a couple links for you to look at so you can investigate what these look like. The other one you'll hear a lot about are CBM, which is curriculum-based measurements. And I'm going to give you a link to look at some of those screening tools. Again, they're very quick. And one that I have investigated pretty thoroughly is a CLOSE activity, CLOZE, and it is a comprehension screening tool where students are given a paragraph and some of the words have been removed and just blanks are put in there, and it's how well the students can fill in those blanks and make sense of what this paragraph says. That's one screening tool that I have used and I understand quite well. There are many other ones as well. Component 3 then is the progress monitoring. So once students are identified that they might have to have some interventions, whether it's at tier 2, tier 3, that is monitored, progress monitoring, and it varies again by age and grade. You remember I said secondary tier monitored monthly, third tier monitored weekly. And again, I'm going to give you a chart to look at some of those. The Ames Web and CBM, some of those can also be used as progress monitoring. There are others there's Dibbles for reading, there's a Scholastic reading inventory, there's M-Class for math, there's a lot of these. And I really want you to take a look at them. And again, I'm going to give you a link for those as well. Then component 4 is this data-based decision making. In today's world, it's a data-driven world. I mean, it really is. We can use our hunches and our intuition, but it's also got to jive with the data. Okay, so we can't just say, well, I really think Sally's going to do okay. We're gonna let her go. We're not going to do these interventions anymore. It has to be based on the data, and that data is the screening information and the progress data. And teams of teachers need to make this decision, not just one teacher. And this is where identification of referral to special services may take place. After these interventions have taken place, if students are still not responding well at that third level, then perhaps there's something else going on and they need to be rescreened for special services. Now, there's been a lot of conversation about this process of RTI can delay someone who really needs special services from getting them. And it can happen, but if it's a good team, they're going to see early on that this student is going to have to move on. we just have to be very, very vigilant and very careful about making sure that we're not delaying students who may really need to get to special services. One thing I do want to add to this, because I'm a former high school teacher who worked to implement RTI in a school, that there's a lot of challenges, even at the middle level too, but even more challenges at the high school level. Um, RTI is seen working most effectively in K-8. When we get to high school, there's this sort of mindset that by the time they get to high school, those interventions should have happened, students should be ready to go, and we know that doesn't happen. So, and the ways in which high schools are structured, block scheduling, content teaching. One teacher does not have a group of students for every subject, for all subjects like elementary do. They have what would be called in elementary specials, where they have an English class, a science class, a math class, and social studies. And the culture of school is that high school teachers teach content. That's changing a bit. I mean, we are moving towards the idea that content area teachers teach more than content. They also teach skills. They teach literacy skills. They teach critical thinking skills. They teach citizenship skills. But this is still in flux. Again, the instructional organization, graduation requirements. In high schools, often they'll implement a math lab class or a writing lab class. Students don't get credit for those. Should they get credit for those? Should that count towards graduation? So those are questions that arise. And the stakeholder engagement. How well are teachers and parents engaged in this RTI process in high school? The resources. While elementary schools generally have a great deal of specialist Title I teachers or literacy specialists, high schools often don't have these kinds of positions. So who's going to provide these services? Who's going to train the teachers who heretofore have not been trained in RTI to implement it? And then there's a general lack of understanding in high schools about what RTI looks like. So it's a kind of a struggle, but I think it's well worth it. I think it's a great intervention system. I think it will help our students succeed. So I invite you to investigate the resources. I really want you to look at those websites that I'm going to put up and have some fun investigating this and sharing your ideas and experience with and arguments for or against it. So thanks so much. I'll be talking to you soon.